The heavy rain beat down on the rooftop of the small, quiet shelter. Inside, the scent of damp earth mingled with the sharp tang of disinfectant, a fragrance that now belonged to a new chapter in her life. Her name was Daisy, and she hadn't felt sunlight in what felt like forever. She had been rescued from a place where hope seemed as faint as the flickering light above her cage. But the rescue was just the beginning. The real story, the one that would break hearts and heal them, had yet to begin. Daisy sat, trembling slightly, her body still carrying the scars of a past she couldn't fully comprehend. Every inch of her fur had once been coated in the filth of neglect. The wounds on her soul were deeper though. The constant hum of the shelter's fans filled the silence, but it was the distant sound of a soft, familiar voice that broke through the barrier of her confusion. "Hey, Daisy, you're safe now," a woman's voice said. It wasn't the voice of the one who had taken her from the mill, but someone who would change everything. Daisy didn't know it yet, but her world was about to be redefined. In this first chapter, we see Daisy's life in the puppy mill, an existence of barely survivable conditions. She is one of many, trapped in a cold, sterile cage, with little light and less warmth. The humans that come and go are unfamiliar figures, their faces like shadows. Her world is a silent scream, a world of repetitive darkness and unseen pain. We're introduced to her as a mere figure in the corner of a room, eyes dull and body thin, her every movement cautious, like the softest gust of wind could break her. But there's a spark inside her, barely there, hidden beneath layers of survival instincts and despair. The rescue operation begins quietly, but its impact is felt deeply. A few hours later, the puppy mill is a thing of the past, but Daisy's mind is still lost in the confusion of freedom. She's alive, but now she must learn what it means to truly live. After Daisy is rescued, we transition to her new home. It's a small, cozy house, filled with warmth and soft light. She's not alone though. The new environment feels as alien to her as the puppy mill once did. The sounds of life around her are loud and unsettling. The gentle hum of a fridge, the laughter of a family, the rustling of leaves outside. These are all reminders that Daisy is a stranger in a world that's supposed to be home. The family has good intentions, but the healing isn't as simple as they hope. Daisy is terrified of every open space, her body rigid with the fear of abandonment that still lingers, an echo of all the years spent in captivity. The moment she steps outside and feels the grass beneath her paws, she freezes, as if her legs might betray her, unwilling to let go of the safety of concrete. Every new sound is a threat, every person a potential enemy. But there is one person, the woman with the soft voice, who speaks to her gently, promising that it's okay. But trust doesn't come easy, and the distance between them is wide, filled with the sharp edges of past trauma. Daisy's progress is slow. She spends more time in the corner of the living room than anywhere else, watching the world with wide eyes that have seen too much. The woman, who we later learn is named Grace, begins taking small steps to connect with Daisy. She doesn't rush her, doesn't expect her to be okay overnight. Every movement is deliberate, every touch tentative. Grace brings Daisy food, gently placing it near her, then stepping back to allow Daisy to approach at her own pace. It's in those quiet moments, when Daisy eats, that Grace sees a flicker of trust. It's a tiny spark, but it's something. She decides to try something new, a leash walk. The first few attempts are disastrous. Daisy's body trembles at the mere sight of the leash, and she pulls, tugs, and resists with all her might. But Grace doesn't give up. She remains calm, coaxing Daisy out of her fears, one step at a time. They move outside, and it's not the soft grass or the fresh air that scares Daisy. It's the world itself. But little by little she starts to take in the smells of the earth, the warmth of the sun, the comfort of Grace's voice. Daisy's progress is slow, but every new inch of ground she covers is a victory. And for Grace, it's a reminder that healing isn't linear. The road is long, and sometimes it feels like there's no end. But Grace knows that this too is part of the journey. Time passes, and Daisy begins to grow into her new life. The tremors of fear still occasionally take hold of her, but they are fewer now, replaced by small, tentative steps toward normalcy. She starts to play with toys, her eyes lighting up with curiosity. Her tail, which once hung limply, now wags cautiously, as if testing the waters of happiness. Grace takes her on longer walks, and Daisy begins to recognize the pattern of her days. Breakfast, a walk, time to explore, a few moments of play. One day, Daisy even ventures into the kitchen to greet Grace, her tail wagging ever so slightly. It's the first time she's moved toward Grace without being coaxed. The change isn't dramatic, but it's real. Daisy's fear, while not gone, is now something she can face, bit by bit. But just as things begin to settle, a moment comes that threatens to undo all the work they've done together. Daisy runs into another dog, a big, energetic animal, who barks loudly and charges toward her. In an instant, Daisy's whole body locks up with terror. Her eyes widen, and she freezes, ready to bolt at any moment. Grace, sensing the danger, steps in between them. She doesn't shout. Instead, she speaks softly to Daisy, calling her name with quiet certainty. Slowly, Daisy takes a step forward, then another. Eventually, she follows Grace away from the barking dog, back to the quiet of the house. For Daisy, the encounter is both a setback and a victory. It proves to her that she still has work to do, but it also shows that she can face the things that scare her, with the right support. The final chapter is one of complete transformation. Daisy has learned to trust. She's learned that not all humans are cruel, not all dogs are threats, and not all spaces are filled with fear. Grace and Daisy's bond has deepened, rooted in silent understanding and shared moments of tenderness. The two of them are no longer strangers in each other's world, but partners in a quiet, loving routine. One evening, after a walk in the park, Daisy lies by Grace's feet, her head resting on the soft carpet. Grace runs her fingers through Daisy's fur, and Daisy lets out a soft sigh, her body completely at ease. It's a moment of peace, the kind Daisy never knew she needed, the kind she never knew she deserved. The camera lingers on the two of them. Daisy, the dog who once lived in a cage, now free, now loved. Grace, the woman who rescued her, but who has been rescued just as much in return. The rain outside has stopped, and the sky is clear. For the first time in a long time, everything feels right. The past is no longer something Daisy carries. It's a memory she can let go of. As Daisy falls asleep, her breathing soft and steady, there's a quiet understanding in the room. It's not just about rescue anymore. It's about the journey and how, with patience, love, and time, healing can happen. The camera pulls back, and the last shot is of Grace, gazing down at the peaceful dog she has saved. In that moment, it's clear. This isn't just Daisy's story. It's Grace's too. As the days turn into weeks, Daisy's transformation is undeniable. The shy, trembling creature who had once barely moved beyond the shadows of her cage now walks with a steady gait, her paws firm on the earth beneath her. The room, which once felt so large and overwhelming, now feels like a space she can belong to. Her days are filled with routine, moments of calm, and occasional bursts of playful energy that light up the room. Yet, there are still moments when something inside her stirs, a reminder of the darkness that once consumed her. It happens on a Thursday afternoon. The house is quiet, save for the distant hum of a refrigerator and the soft tapping of Grace's fingers on her lap. Daisy has been lying by the door, watching the leaves fall outside, when a sound startles her, a car door slamming. It's not the sound itself that frightens her, but the sudden flood of memories that rush through her mind. For a split second, Daisy freezes, her ears flicking backward, her body taut with tension. Her eyes widen as her muscles stiffen. In that split second, the girl who had been rescued, the girl who was safe, feels like she's back in that dark, endless cage. The sharp, cold air, the unfamiliar faces, the cold metal bars. Grace, who had been watching Daisy with quiet attention, notices the change immediately. She pauses, looking over at her dog, who hasn't moved. Daisy, her voice is soft, gentle, filled with the warmth of 1,000 quiet moments. Daisy doesn't answer. She can't. Instead, Grace walks slowly over to Daisy, kneeling down beside her. Her fingers gently stroke Daisy's fur, the act of kindness pulling Daisy from the brink of panic. Grace's hand is warm against Daisy's trembling skin. "It's okay," Grace whispers, her voice barely audible above the soft whistling of wind outside. "You're safe now. You're not there anymore." Daisy's eyes, wide and filled with confusion, search Grace's face. For a moment there is nothing but the echo of past terror in her gaze. But then something shifts. The softness in Grace's eyes, the way she remains calm, the way she's here, steady and present. Daisy slowly exhales. Her shoulders relax. Her body, which had been braced for flight, now begins to settle. She lets out a soft whine, one that feels more like a sigh than a cry. It's a sigh of relief, but also of sorrow. The wounds that run deeper than her physical scars aren't healed yet. They never would be complete. But for the first time, Daisy allows herself to feel the safety that Grace had promised her. She allows herself to lean into the woman, trusting that the love between them is strong enough to ease even the oldest scar. As the car pulls away outside, Daisy remains still for a few more moments. But she's not the same. The terror has faded, replaced by the calm realization that the past will never fully fade away. But it doesn't have to define her. The bond between Daisy and Grace has become something far deeper than either of them could have anticipated. It's a bond built not only on saving but on understanding. And sometimes understanding means sitting in silence, allowing room for the pain, the healing, and the slow unraveling of a heart that had once been lost. Daisy looks up at Grace with eyes that are no longer full of fear. They're full of something else now, something that speaks of growth, of gradual progress, and of the kind of love that only comes from patience and time. Grace smiles softly, brushing her thumb over Daisy's ear. "We're okay," she whispers, and in that moment, Daisy believes her. The weight of Daisy's past still lingers like a shadow in the corners of her mind, but she has learned to live with it, to move past it. And so has Grace. Every day they grow a little closer, not just in their healing, but in the understanding that love, true love, doesn't require perfection. It simply requires acceptance. The months go by, and with each passing day, the changes in Daisy are more than just physical. Her once dull eyes have gained a spark, a twinkle that seems to brighten every room she enters. She's gained weight, her ribs no longer visible beneath her soft fur, and her muscles have filled out, giving her a sturdier, more confident frame. But most importantly, she's begun to trust that this is home. Trust that she's safe. One day, on a whim, Grace grabs a worn-out tennis ball from the basket in the corner of the living room. She holds it up in front of Daisy, who's lying on her bed, looking up at her. The ball is small, but it's bright, and its very presence seems to make the room feel lighter. Grace throws it a few inches away, her movements slow and measured. At first, Daisy watches it roll, her ears twitching, her body unsure. For a moment it feels like they're stuck in that quiet, still moment again, the one where everything felt foreign. But then Daisy surprises Grace. With a tentative step forward, she pushes herself up, her tail wagging just a little, and she trots after the ball. It's a hesitant chase at first, as if Daisy isn't sure if she's allowed to be this free. But as the ball bounces across the floor, Daisy's steps grow bolder. She leaps, catching it mid-roll, her paws skimming the carpet as she tumbles forward with excitement. The room fills with the sound of her breath, steady and eager, the soft thud of her paws on the floor, and the laughter that bubbles from Grace's chest. "Good girl," Grace says, her voice full of joy and disbelief. Daisy, panting slightly, drops the ball at Grace's feet, her eyes wide with excitement, her tail a blur behind her. For a moment Grace simply stares at Daisy, her heart swelling. This is it. This is the moment where Daisy lets go of the fear, where she embraces the joy of being alive. The air is thick with the warmth of the afternoon sun, the golden light streaming through the windows and filling the room with warmth. It feels like a celebration, even though it's just a simple moment in a day that could have been any other. But it's not. It's a turning point. For Daisy, for Grace, and for the space between them. Daisy picks up the ball again, and trots toward Grace, her steps now sure and filled with purpose. This time Grace is ready. She kneels down, reaching out, and the two of them share a moment of silent understanding, a bond that has grown stronger than the sum of their pasts, stronger than anything either of them had ever imagined. The months pass, and with each new day,
Daisy's transformation becomes a little more complete. The woman who had once been a stranger to Daisy is now a constant figure in her life, and the dog who once shied away from human touch now seeks it out with the same devotion that Grace has shown her. Their days are simple, but full of small triumphs. The gentle click of Daisy's paws against the hardwood floor as she walks beside Grace, the soft sigh Daisy releases when she curls up at Grace's feet at night, the joy that fills the room when Daisy hears the words walk, or treat, or Grace watches Daisy as she sleeps one evening, the soft rise and fall of her chest matching the rhythm of her own breath. Daisy is no longer just a rescue dog. She is Grace's companion, her equal. She has become in every sense a part of the family. And though the scars from the past will never fully disappear, they no longer define Daisy's world.
One evening, as the sky outside darkens and the stars begin to twinkle above, Grace sits on the porch, watching Daisy chase fireflies in the yard. Daisy's movements are light, her joy unburdened by the past. Grace smiles, a quiet sense of peace settling in her chest. In that moment, as the sound of Daisy's laughter mingles with the soft rustle of the wind through the trees, Grace realizes something profound. Daisy's journey isn't over, but neither is hers. They have both been rescued in their own way, and together they are learning how to live, truly live, in a world that finally feels like home. Time stretches forward, its steady passage marking the change that continues to settle deep within both Grace and Daisy. The world outside has shifted, the seasons have changed, but their bond remains steadfast, woven together by days of quiet patience and tender care. Daisy is no longer just a dog. She's a living testament to the resilience of the heart, and Grace, in her own way, has grown alongside her, learning that healing is not something that can be rushed, nor something that is ever truly finished. One morning, as the sun rises over the hills, bathing the world in a soft golden light, Grace stands in the kitchen, brewing her coffee. The smell of dark roast fills the air, mingling with the sweet scent of morning dew that rises from the grass outside. Daisy, now more confident and sure-footed, lies nearby, her body stretched across the cool tile floor as she watches Grace move about the room. The sight of Daisy curled up like this, relaxed at ease, fills Grace's heart with a warmth she never could have imagined all those months ago when she first brought Daisy home. It's in these moments, when the world feels still and quiet, that Grace realizes just how far they've come together. Daisy's eyes, once filled with fear and confusion, now sparkle with the same trust that has come to define their relationship. Her movements are no longer hesitant, but graceful, filled with the quiet assurance of a dog who has learned to love herself again. The sound of Daisy's soft sigh as she rests on the floor is the soundtrack to Grace's own thoughts. Thoughts about how far they've come, but also about how much more there is still to be done. For Daisy, there are still remnants of her past that linger in the quiet corners of her mind, fears that bubble to the surface in the most unexpected moments. But they are no longer overpowering. They are just fragments of a life she no longer lives. And when they do surface, Grace is there, just as steady, just as present, guiding her back into the light. Today, Grace is determined to do something for Daisy, something that will remind her how far she's come. She grabs the leash, and before Daisy can even register what's happening, Grace gently clips it onto her collar. Daisy stirs, lifting her head and looking up at Grace with a glint of curiosity in her eye. It's been months since their first hesitant walk together, and since then the world has opened up in ways that both of them never thought possible. The walks have grown longer, the paths more adventurous, but today feels different. Today, Grace wants to do something special. With a soft "come on, girl," Grace steps outside, the familiar crunch of the gravel driveway beneath her boots grounding her to the earth. Daisy follows close behind, her steps sure and steady. For a moment, Grace looks down at the dog who has become everything she never knew she needed, and feels an overwhelming rush of love. The air is cool, carrying with it the scent of freshly mowed grass and the faint promise of rain. Daisy walks with her, her tail swishing gently from side to side. They cross the field that leads to the woods, where the trees are just beginning to bud, the first signs of spring showing through the faded remnants of winter. As they reach the woods, Grace slows her pace, taking in the beauty around them. She pauses for a moment, glancing down at Daisy, who is sniffing the earth with purpose. The wind stirs the branches overhead, sending a cascade of leaves fluttering to the ground, their rustling a soft melody in the quiet. Grace's heart swells with a quiet peace, the kind that comes from knowing they have found something far greater than just a home. They've found a life together. Daisy lifts her head, her ears perked, and looks at Grace, her eyes soft with the comfort of knowing she's not alone. It's a moment of silent understanding, one that speaks volumes without words. Grace crouches down beside Daisy, gently scratching behind her ear. "You're my girl, Daisy," she whispers, her voice a soft caress. Daisy leans into her touch, her body warm and solid beside Grace's. In this moment, all of their struggles, all of their pain feels small, insignificant. Even, they've survived. Together, the wind picks up, and the world around them shifts. But in that moment, nothing matters except the bond between them. Daisy, with her now joyful steps, trots ahead, her tail wagging as Grace follows just behind. Together they walk through the woods, where the earth smells sweet and the air is fresh. For the first time, Daisy runs ahead, her energy alive and unburdened by the past. Grace smiles, watching as her dog's spirit finally takes flight, free from the weight of the cage she once knew. The days blur into one another, each one bringing Daisy and Grace closer to the life they are now living. The scars, though never completely gone, are no longer the first thing either of them see when they look at each other. The long road of healing has led them here to this quiet, unspoken place of peace. It's a place where Daisy no longer flinches at the sound of an open door or hides when the wind picks up. It's a place where she knows she is loved, truly loved, and that there is no more running, no more fear, no more cages. Grace has learned something through all of this, something that only time and unconditional love can teach. She's learned that healing isn't about fixing, it's about accepting, about giving space for the past to breathe without letting it control the present. In Daisy's eyes, she has found a reflection of her own journey, a reminder that even the darkest moments can give way to something beautiful if only we allow ourselves the grace to grow. One evening, as the sun sets and the sky is painted with shades of pink and orange, Grace sits on the porch, a warm cup of tea in her hands. Daisy lies beside her, resting her head on Grace's lap. The soft glow of the porch light flickers as they sit in silence, the quiet hum of the world around them grounding them in the moment. Daisy looks up at her, her eyes soft and full of trust, and Grace smiles, a smile that says everything, a smile that acknowledges the road they've traveled, and the road still ahead. The sun dips below the horizon, casting a warm golden light over them, as if the world itself is sending them a final blessing. It's in this moment, as the day fades into night, that Grace realizes how far they've come, how far Daisy has come, from a broken spirit trapped in a cage to a happy, free dog who now runs with joy. And as the cool breeze carries the scent of the night, Grace knows that while their story may have started in the dark, it has found its light. Together they have built something stronger than both of them, the kind of love that heals, that frees, and that endures. And for the first time, Daisy sleeps soundly, her body relaxed and content, safe in the knowledge that she is home. Months pass and the days continue to blend into one another, with a rhythm that feels natural and comforting. The house, once quiet and unfamiliar to Daisy, now feels like a place of belonging. The creaking floorboards, the familiar smells of breakfast, the soft rustle of the trees outside, and the warmth of Grace's presence, all blend together, creating a peaceful, rhythmic life that Daisy has come to rely on. But as the seasons change, so too do the challenges. Daisy, while much more comfortable, is not immune to the deeper scars left behind by her time in the puppy mill. Some nights when the house falls silent, the fear creeps back into her chest. It comes like a shadow, quiet and insidious, and she is helpless against it. There are nights when she wakes up with a start, her body stiff, her mind racing, as if someone was just outside her reach. The panic feels familiar, her breath becomes shallow, her heart thudding in her chest,
as though she's back in that cold, sterile cage. Grace, however, has learned the signs. She doesn't force Daisy into the light or demand answers to what can't be expressed. Instead, she sits beside her dog, gently stroking her fur, offering the warmth of her presence. There is no judgment in Grace's touch, no impatience, just the quiet understanding that healing doesn't happen in a straight line. There are setbacks, there are bad nights, and then there are the mornings that follow, where hope returns in small, quiet ways.
On one of those nights, as Grace holds Daisy close, she whispers softly, "I'm here, Daisy. You're not alone." Daisy trembles, but she slowly sinks into Grace's embrace, her breathing steadying. There is still the weight of her past, still the lingering fear, the quiet echoes of trauma. But in this moment, it's clear Daisy has learned to trust, and that trust is enough. She doesn't need to be perfect. She just needs to know she's safe. Life continues in its gentle rhythm, a mix of joy and the occasional fleeting memory of the past. Grace knows that the road ahead will not always be without difficulty, but she also knows that they've walked this path together for long enough now to know what's important. Daisy is learning day by day that the world isn't something to be feared anymore. The house, the yard, the park, these places are no longer hostile. They are hers. They are home. One afternoon, Grace takes Daisy on a walk through the neighborhood. The sun is high in the sky, casting golden beams of light on the streets, making everything feel warm and full of possibility. Daisy walks beside Grace, her tail held high, her eyes alert but calm. She's no longer the dog who cowers at the sound of approaching footsteps or shies away from the feel of a leash. Daisy has embraced the world with a quiet confidence that feels like an accomplishment for both of them. As they walk past a small cafe, Grace spots an old friend sitting at a table on the outdoor patio. Her friend, a woman with curly dark hair and a gentle smile, waves enthusiastically at Grace. "Hey, it's been forever," she calls, and Grace waves back, smiling. Daisy, who had once flinched at the sight of strangers, watches this encounter with curiosity. Grace, sensing the shift in Daisy's mood, slows her pace as they approach the table. "Daisy, this is Sarah," Grace introduces, her voice calm and inviting. Daisy looks up at Sarah, her body a little tense, but there's no fear in her eyes, just curiosity. Sarah reaches out her hand, but instead of moving toward her, Daisy stays where she is, studying the woman. Grace crouches down beside her. "It's okay, girl. You're safe." Daisy sniffs the air, her tail giving a cautious wag. Sarah laughs softly, a light, airy sound. "She's got a good nose," Sarah says, her voice full of warmth. It's a small moment, but it feels significant. Daisy isn't immediately trusting of everyone she meets, but she doesn't run either. Instead, she takes the time to observe, to understand that this woman, this stranger, means no harm. That's the first step, the invitation to heal. And for Daisy, it's enough. It's a moment where she is no longer bound by the invisible chains of fear. Grace smiles at Sarah, her heart swelling with pride. "She's come a long way," she says quietly, more to herself than anyone else. As spring turns to summer, Daisy's journey takes a new turn. The walks have become more frequent, the parks more expansive. Daisy loves the feeling of the wind ruffling through her fur, the scent of fresh flowers and wet earth filling her senses. She's become a part of the world outside of Grace's home, running free through the fields with her head held high. For the first time, Daisy feels the true freedom that was once denied to her. Freedom to live, to love, to explore. One afternoon, Grace decides to take Daisy to the local dog park. It's a quiet, grassy area with a few benches, shaded by towering trees that seem to watch over the dogs and their owners. Daisy, now confident and healthy, steps through the gate and into the park. She pauses, looking around. There are other dogs, large ones, small ones, ones that dart around with energy and others that lazily sniff the grass. Daisy stays close to Grace, but her posture is different now. She's not the dog who's afraid of being abandoned. She's the dog who knows she belongs. A playful golden retriever bounds up to her, tail wagging excitedly. Daisy watches the dog for a moment, then almost hesitantly, she takes a step forward. The golden retriever nudges her, and for the first time in months, Daisy steps forward without hesitation. She meets the dog's gaze, then circles around, gently sniffing its fur. They begin to play cautiously at first, but soon it's a game. Daisy is running, her paws hitting the grass with an unfamiliar lightness, her body feeling the joy of movement without fear. Grace watches her, sitting on one of the benches with a peaceful smile on her face. Daisy's playful bark rings out in the air, and for a moment, the world feels like it's exactly where it needs to be. Daisy is not just surviving anymore, she is living. As the sun begins to dip below the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of purple and gold, Grace stands up and calls Daisy to her side. The little dog trots back to her, her eyes sparkling with joy and content. Grace leans down to ruffle Daisy's fur, and Daisy leans into her touch, closing her eyes in the comfort of the moment. "Good girl," Grace murmurs, and in Daisy's heart, the words resonate deeply. She knows now, she knows she's not alone, she knows she is loved. And in the quiet space between them, they both understand that healing isn't about erasing the past, it's about living fully, despite it. It's about knowing that every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. The days blur into one long, peaceful rhythm, a dance of love and trust between Grace and Daisy. The fears that once held Daisy captive are now only distant memories, faded like the past, that can never fully be left behind. Daisy has become more than a rescue. She has become a symbol of resilience, of the power of love to heal, to transform. Grace watches as Daisy runs through the fields, her movements fluid and free. The dog who once trembled at the mere thought of an open door now charges toward it, eager to explore the world outside. She is not the same dog that entered Grace's life. Neither is Grace. Together they have learned that the greatest gift is not in the rescuing but in the love. As the seasons change once again, Daisy rests her head on Grace's lap, her breathing slow and steady. The two of them, inseparable, have found something that goes beyond rescue. They've found a home, and in that home, they are both free. As the seasons turn, Daisy has become more than a dog in Grace's life. She is a symbol of resilience, a testament to the power of love and patience. The once fearful animal now runs freely, her joyful barks filling the air as she explores the world she once feared. And beside her, Grace is no longer just a rescuer, but a companion, a partner in healing. Together they've learned that true healing isn't about erasing the past, it's about living fully in spite of it. The journey wasn't easy, but in the quiet moments, with Daisy resting at her feet, Grace knows this. Sometimes the greatest gift is simply being there together forever.